running a company that I think is pretty inspiring. He's really gone above and beyond and created a culture within his company and sharing that knowledge through his website, through his videos, and really has helped a lot of us think about not just lean for the sake of being lean, but how you embrace that and really succeed as a small entrepreneur. So, Jay Pierson.
Thanks. Thanks, Sean. How many Californians? Cool. When are we moving? Okay, that's cool. My name is Jay Pierson. I'm the president and founder of Pierson Workholding. We're based in Simi Valley, California. It's a suburb of Los Angeles. And boy, my story, I got creeped out during John's talk because you could take his early years of life, copy, paste, okay? I started out doing computers. In high school, I had this company called Custom Multimedia. I would build you a custom computer. And then I had no customers, but my business cards look really cool. And people would ask, why are you doing that? You just go down and work at McDonald's. Back then, I think minimum wage was $4.25. And I'm like, no, that's crazy. People would ask me, what do you want to do when you grow up? I always got that. And I always said, like, a business owner. There was no choice. I watched my parents run a sheet metal company. And my dad really embraced CNC technology and sheet metal, which was, if you know about sheet metal, it is fabrication. It's a lot of like art applied. And what he did is he was one of the first in our county to embrace G-code, writing it on like a teletype, I think it was called. And literally like this stream of tape would come out. And then he would put that into this feeder that would run his Amada punch press. And it would make all this crazy racket, and I was like a little kid and it scared me. But I grew up in this company that I would want nothing to do with, but I really wanted to be in business. And so I had this example of my parents, you know, showing me like, not directly, but I guess indirectly what it took to run a business. So I spent the next, the first early years of college kind of checking the college box because that's just what you're supposed to do. I think like now, gosh, you get so many entrepreneurs like Gary Vaynerchuk, Elon Musk has a video out of just how the college isn't quite what it's cracked up to be. It's debt inducing. It's just something, for me, it was easy to not go to college because I hated it. So looking back, there was nothing at the collegiate level that was preparing me. Now I did pick up a lot of great business tactics, but I could have picked it up through YouTube. But unfortunately, there was no YouTube back then. So here I am, this guy that's kind of struggling, you know, kind of wondering what you're going to do, 19, 20, 21. I'm living near Los Angeles. Hollywood was about 30 minutes away, and I thought I'm going to be a professional musician. That lasted about like 9 months because I suck. But what it did was it gave me some time where people would just like leave me alone, you know, which is like the best benefit. And my dad would say, oh, my son, he's just trying to go be a musician, you know, and well, he's getting any gigs? No. Does he have a band? Sort of. How are they? They're terrible, but you know, whatever. So at 20 years old, I thought I'm going to go into law enforcement and just, I don't know. I just thought it'd be cool. I always wanted to be a firefighter or a police officer. Heard some crazy stories, had a friend that was injured on the job. I was dating this girl at the time that worried, and I thought, you know, if we ever get married, we will be divorced. Let me see what else is out there. So I reluctantly started working with my dad again because I just needed some income, I guess. And he had this machine. It's a Bridgeport EasyTrack 2 DX. It's a knee mill. And I'm looking at this thing, and I had never seen it run because he's a sheet metal guy. And so I said, Dad, why is that there? What is it, first of all? And he said, oh, it's a mill. And I didn't know what that was. And I asked him, what does it do? Well, it cuts metal. And I thought, wow, okay, that's good. And I filed it away. Then I started mountain biking, another weird connection. And I started racing in the state of California. I was doing really well. And in racing, like if you get hooked into any sport, like lighter, stronger, it was always better. And so I'm looking at my bike going, man, why did they make that linkage like that. If they just did this little thing, maybe I could get a little extra travel out of it. So I say, hey Dad, does that milling machine, does it allow you to like put holes in metal and cut shapes? He's like, of course it does. So I start like messing around with this thing and I'm like, this is awesome. I had this piece of like disgusting, scratched up, nasty piece of aluminum that was in the back of my dad's shop in the corner, and I made it into this beautiful work of art that now I'm benefiting from. This is incredible. So then that was kind of like my first light bulb moment. Wow, if I could just like make these, I think other people will buy them. So I started doing that, but I wasn't making them because, well, I don't know if you've gone through this, but hot chips, they hurt. They get in hair, and sometimes they get stuck in eyes, and I was getting splinters and stuff. I'm like, maybe I'll have someone else make them. So I had a shop down the street making these suspension linkage upgrade kits for Specialized FSR. That was the most popular bike at the time, and of course my Trek Fuel 90. That was what I raced. So I put them online. I went through the whole thing of getting them anodized, and guess what? They started selling on eBay. And I'm going, all right, okay, now I can stop trying to be a rock star. I can stop going to college. I think, I don't know if I consciously did this, but I thought I can dump this girl, you know, because she's dragging me down. She always want to hang out on Friday nights and Saturday nights. I'm like, I want to make parts, you know, so she was a pain, dumped her. So then I realized as the money started flowing, my first lesson in business was that money also goes out. Now my dad's like, hey, you can't just like take metal from my shop and go drop it off. You have to buy it. Also, the checks I was writing to the guy down the street making the mountain bike parts, okay, I didn't really think about that. eBay was taking like 10 or 12%, something crazy like that. And I remember thinking, wow, I just made this really cool part, or had it made, and all I got was like 15 or 20 bucks to show for it. I think there's something wrong here. This is my idea. I should be making more money than this. So I went, I did some research. It turns out that Haas Automation was 45 minutes away from Simi Valley. They're in Oxnard, California. The machinist that was making parts, he had one. His next door neighbor, machine shop, they had one. The guy behind us had one. I'm going, oh, I should really look into this. This is like mainstream, you know. I didn't know the extent of machining. So I went to the bank, bank of mom and dad, and I said, can you help me? You know, this college thing, I know that like you've saved up, and do you think you could help me instead of like putting it towards college, maybe put it towards this machine? And here's the deal. If you help me buy this and I fail, you can actually sell this and get your money back, and I'll give you your money first, and I'll take the hit. And like, that was awesome for them, because college, I fail a class, they don't get their money back, you know? They're gonna have to repay, you know, again. So, you know, at the time, it just seemed like an easy choice. If I were to do it now, it's pretty darn scary looking back, you know? So I found a used Haas mini mill in Phoenix, Arizona. This was 2002. Great time to buy used machinery because there was this recession. Terrible time to start a business. I think the turning point was, well, let me back up. I started making the mountain bike parts. And my dad had some business connections, said, hey, you know, my buddy Kurt, he's looking for just a small shop to do some prototype work. Maybe you should take that on too. Sure, I'll keep it running. I was watching a mountain bike race on OLN, Outdoor Life Network. And it was a downhill event, and I'm racing like every weekend there was a race, and so these guys are my idols. And one of the pros comes down the trail, and the announcers, it was the first race of the day, and the announcer said, all right, there's our first race of the day. Well, I gotta tell you something, I think there's more racers in the race than there are spectators watching. I guess that's the state of this sport. And I'm like, uh-oh. maybe I should transition away from mountain bike parts because it's not growing, let's just put it that way. So this one customer, Kurt Anderson, M-Wave Designs, started giving me a bunch of work. You know, first it was like 2 or 3 pieces, then it was 10, then quantities of 30. And then when we got up to like the point of making like 50 to 100 parts, boy, that's when like my laziness kicked in or something. Because here I realized, wow, I'm making these parts, I'm getting like 30 bucks a piece for them. It's probably like $1 in material. This is good. This is how you grow a business. But I was stuck in front of this machine all day. One part, one vise, start, standing around for 2 or 3 minutes till it's done, next part. I'm like, man, you know, bakers don't bake a cupcake one at a time. You put a tray in. I think I need to borrow from the baking industry. So I go to West Tech and I'm like, I'm looking for this thing. Can you guys help me? I'm talking to tooling guys. It's kind of like this, you know, I don't know. And they're like, oh, like a pallet system? Yeah, pallet system. Yeah, what is that? Okay, well here, we got this one over here that slides in and out. And okay, I could see how that works. Yeah, okay, and how much is it? And he told me, I'm like, that's more than my machine. Not gonna do that. So I started thinking, there's a problem here. If I don't like standing in front of the machine, there's gotta be dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of other people that hate it too. So I came home, I looked through catalogs that I had collected. You could piece together a pallet system, but it was, you had to go to like these guys in Germany, and then you had to get the airlines, McMaster Carr, and then this sales guy is gonna tell you how it works. I didn't understand it, so I just made this little thing. And the neighbor that was making parts for me originally, he walked in and he said, hey, what's that? And I said, oh, it's kind of like this pallet system I put together. He said, pallet system, wow, how's it work? I said, well, what I do is I have these, an order of 50 parts. I load them up. These are called Mighty Bike clamps. They fit on the pallet, and I hit start, and I go mountain bike riding. And he's like, well, it's, you should stick around. You go, what if something happens, you know, goes bad? I said, no, the first part ran just fine, then, you know, the other 49 will be fine. And he goes, oh, well, whatever, you know. So he would see me leave. I'd be gone for 2 hours, come back covered in dirt, switch out a pallet, and then go to the beach to rinse off. Come back, switch a pallet, and then this guy at the end of the day comes in and says, how many more of those do you have? I said, well, none. I mean, this is just for me. He says, are you going to make more? And I said, well, maybe. He says, well, if you do, I'll buy 3 of them. I'm like, oh, okay. Light bulb moment number 2 right there. So I started developing this pallet system. It was back then terrible branding. It's called the PRS, Pallet Retention System. Super nerdy, like don't name your products with a name as what they do that's not great unless it's like, whatever, that's a whole nother talk. But it didn't click for people. And so I knew I would be trying to educate the industry as why a pallet system with 50 parts is better than a vise with maybe 1 or 2 at a time. And I realized that was like a big learning just curve that I had to get through in business, having to educate your customers. So fast forward up to 2008, 2009, I realized I needed to rebrand it. Somewhere along the lines, I wrote a letter to, at that point, I think I had about 3 customers that I made parts for, contract manufacturing for. I wrote them this letter, and it was called like the all-in letter, you know, because I remember taking these 3 envelopes to the mailbox, opening the chute, holding them going, man, this is it. This is it. When I let go of this, these guys are gone, and I have to make this company work. I let go, I walked away, and I didn't get any sales. Until one day, I'm sitting there, and this is maybe 2000, yeah, this is about 2007, I think. I answered my phone, hello, this is Jay. The guy says, I'd like to place an order. And I said, literally, I said, for what? And he didn't laugh like you guys. He said, I'm on your website and you sell this pallet retention system. Yes, yes we do. Yes, thank you. And so that was like another order of like 3 more. And at this point, and maybe I'd sold like a dozen or so in the next year, but you know, I was living cheap at the time. I think, yeah, I wasn't married yet. Oh, that was another funny story. I went to my father-in-law to ask him if I could marry his daughter. And he said, okay, how are you gonna provide for her? And I said, I got this website and pallet retention system. And he totally glazed over and he's like, I don't know about this. And so that was another motivator. I have to provide for this man's daughter. I have to do this, you know? So it's one thing to provide for myself, another thing to provide for a family. So then 2009 comes around. We had just gone through the downturn in the economy. So many sad stacks and stacks of auction flyers coming like weekly. And my dad said, you know, if you are going to get more equipment, you might want to take this time to buy some of this used equipment that's on auction. Okay, all right. So, you know, I bought just like little things. I was starting to become a more legitimate machine shop, metrology, drills, drill charts, benches, you know, so I started to tool up. In 2009, at this point, end of 2009, I realized, man, there are vacuum systems out there, and I was about to say suck, they're supposed to suck. They're terrible, you know, and they look bad, and they seem so finicky. I gotta try and develop something. So I came out with the SmartVac 1 that lasted maybe 6 months, and within that time I thought, man, I could make this better. Created the SmartVac 2. How many of you are customers, by the way? Oh yeah, good, like a dozen of you, that's great. And so created the SmartVac 2. We still sell the SmartVac 2 to this day. It's almost 10 years. So I realized, okay, that is something that the industry needs. It's solving problems. Then 2013 was a year that I was totally tapped out. My wife had a baby, I was sleep deprived, I was just so spent. And so I had like part-time guys come and go, employees. I thought, I have to hire a rock star. So I hired at December 2013, my main guy, John Clifton. He's like my right-hand man, he manages production. And he was my first high-skilled, high-dollar, high-output guy. I thought, wow, this is gonna be great. All my problems are solved. Life is gonna be easy from now on. I get to go home at a normal time. I get to come to work at a normal time. I get to like not work nights. That didn't work. 6 months into it, we were going, what is going on? Here is just, it was me, one guy working like a lunatic. Now we got 2 guys and we have 2 lunatics, and now we can't stand each other, although we were friends for years. So the rock bottom in my time at this point was we had this order. It was a company that had a tooling budget that they had to spend at the end of their fiscal year. I think it was like June 30th. He said, hey, we've been looking at your pallet systems for a while. We'd like to buy them. We'd like to buy 4 of them. Can you ship them to us by June 30th? And I think we had maybe about a week to do them. At that time, we didn't carry inventory. We did just build to order. And so I said, yeah, I think we could pull that off. Well, we got to July, I want to say 29th, it must have been, when we were hustling. The guy said, hey, where's my tracking number, like earlier, like the 24th, 25th, something like that. And I said, you know, don't worry, we'll get it to you by the 30th. And he said, hey, I'm adamant about this. We're like a clean cut company. If these pallet systems are not on our floor by June 30th, we have to cancel the order. Don't worry about it, sir, we got it. June 29th, we're hustling, we're sweating. John and I are assembling, boxing. We get to the point where I realized, oh crap, there's a 0.008 cent O-ring that we don't have in stock right now and is key to the function of this pallet system. I was devastated. I called the customer, I said, hi, hey, you know how that June 30th thing, you know, how we said we'd do it for sure? how's July 1st? Is there any wiggle room? And he said, absolutely not. And I said, okay, well, here's the deal. Maybe could we just like do the paperwork so it looks like it showed up on June 30th? He said, absolutely not. And so I said, okay, well, unfortunately, I have to order something today. It gets here tomorrow, which is June 30th, and we'll ship next day air. We'll give you free shipping. You get it on July 1st. I don't know what else to do. And he said, no, sorry, I gave you plenty of warning. We'll have to cancel the order. That was an $8,000 order. Punch in the gut. And that was a wake-up call. So I went home. I was kind of like lost. Here I have this business. It's supposed to be selling product and making money, and we can't ship. I'm not happy at work. John is not happy at work. I'm missing my kids. We're working more. What is going on? Then I heard about this thing called lean. I had heard about it. I didn't research it. I just knew maybe it had something to do with Toyota or something like that. And I go to YouTube and I type in lean shop, and it auto-suggested lean shop tour. Great. I watched this video tour by Fast Cap, Paul Akers. And I'm like blown away going, that. Okay, now he's a woodworking guy, but I said, that is something that makes sense to me. None of this like theoretical, open your textbooks, turn to page 88, and we're gonna go over the 3 S's or 5 S's or 20 S's, whatever everyone's doing now. But it was not theory, it was practical stuff. So I wrote notes. The next day we go in, I told John, sit down, watch this with me. I said, and take notes. Man, we were so inspired. I was just blown away what a shop that embraced lean could actually do. Not at the Toyota level, not at like the corporate America level, but at the small level, like just one man or even a 2-man shop. The first thing we did is we realized we were working in a pigsty. I'm not naturally an organized person. I'm not like OCD. I know that the video kind of comes across that way sometimes, but I'm really not. I don't push lean on my wife at home. The kids make a mess and I'm like, that's okay. It looks like when I was a kid. So the first thing we did was we didn't 5S, we didn't 4S, we 3S. I knew we had to keep it simple, and that's right out of the Paul Akers playbook. 3S, sweep. That's get rid of trash. Okay, dust, obviously, from the top down, that's when we started cleaning. Things that like I had for projects, I did a Kickstarter campaign, I was saving all this material, and I realized that stuff had to go. It just had to go, and I'm thinking, I paid $38 for that, and that was $27, and that material is worth $140, had to go. It had to clear space. So we started sweeping. The next thing we started to do is sorting. Now what is sorting? Sorting is where you take the stuff that's out of place and you just go put it in its place. But what if it doesn't have a place? That's standardized. We would start to create places for the stuff. So we get rid of the dirt, step one. The things we want to keep, we put them in their place. When there's no place, create a space. And so Kaizen foam is another great tool that I hope you all know about. It allows you to create spaces. We started standardizing our tool drawers where we put the drills, because John would say, hey, where's that number 25 drill? Oh, the one we use all the time? I don't know. And he would be like, well, we need to create like a number 25 spot so we don't have to walk around. And inevitably we'd find it on the shelf of one of the Haas machines. Oh, there it is. Why is it there? It shouldn't be there. Standardize. So we started doing this. And I knew John is a very simple guy. He's a great machinist, but like I have these grandiose ideas, and he's like, what do you want me to do just right now? Boil it down, Jay. So I knew that we had to just do that to get the clutter out of the way. And what I realized was getting the clutter out of our environment and organizing created so much mental space. It decluttered our brains. It decluttered our emotions. We started getting along together. We started going home at the same time, on time. So then you introduce the 8 wastes. And there's plenty of stuff out there to teach you the 8 wastes. I don't want to do that. I want to take the lean approach. I've created PearsonWorkholding.com/lean. You can review them all, but they're basically, hey, there it is. The 8 wastes, and then we started tracking these, watching out. So obviously the first thing to do is to know the enemy. The enemy is waste, and lean is the practice of identifying and eliminating waste through continual improvement. Keyword, continual improvement. So these 8 wastes, overproduction is the worst. Let me just go through the story form of how I do it. You overproduce, maybe you overpurchase like fasteners. Now you got to transport it. Now the cost of shipping goes up. Now you've got all this stuff that you've overproduced and you've got excess inventory. If you're buying from China, as Paul Akers would say, most of it's going to have defects. Then you've got to fix the stuff because you overproduced and some of them had defects. Now you're doing stuff to parts that should have been done and you're overprocessing. Because you're all flustered and you're mad that you screwed up, now you're bending over, you're reaching around, you're walking over there to fix it, you're getting tools. You are wasting motion. Meanwhile, at the end of the day, either the next machine or the next person or the worst thing, the customer is waiting for you to fix your problems. Okay? And then finally, Paul Akers will say unused employee genius. I kind of shift it to misused brain power. This is important. So we use Kanban cards. It's basically a communication system to tell you what to order, from who to order it from, and when to order it when you hit the minimum, and how much to order, which is the maximum. What that does is it reduces what I call the stupid talk. It reduces the need for John to come to me and say, hey, we ran out of those one stainless screws. What are they? Oh, those are, let's see, going back into the file up here, those are 1024 stainless socket head cap screws, 1024 by 3/8, and we buy them in quantities of 1,000. Dumb, stupid talk. There should be none of that in the company. So then what we're doing is instead of doing that stupid brain power stuff, we're using it for like more high-end things, like creating what you guys have coined, thank you, the Pierson boards. So we can see our schedule of exactly what to do. Oh, can you scroll down just a little bit, John? On this page, so on this page, what we've done is I kind of tell you like a little bit of what I'm doing right here is, yeah. So like here's a video I did for John of organizing your tool cabinet, your mill setup cart to be example, for example. Scroll down a little bit more. What was the one I was thinking of? Okay, yeah, Kaizen foam, Kanban cards. You can download Kanban cards, the ones I've created. Carts, bins, part trays. Nothing's ringing a bell right here. Oh, QR codes. Okay, so this is actually a terrible use of, it's a misuse of brain power, me training people over and over again. It's fine to train someone one time, but the next guy that comes down and you train him again, man, we just do it on video. We create it as an unlisted video and then create a QR code. Everyone with a cell phone can just scan it and then they're able to train themselves at any time of day, as many times as they want without bothering us. So that misused brain power, that's huge. That enables us to use our brains for high-end thinking, not that low-end silly stuff that really slows stuff down. So yeah, scroll down just a little bit more. Oh yeah, the part picker, that was a fun thing. So here's another thing that started happening. When we started to eliminate waste, what we found ourselves, the problem we had is we had a lot of extra time. And so we're kind of like, well, we're all caught up with production. We have plenty of parts in stock. We're happy, we're going home on time. All right, well, let's take one thing that really stinks around here. And this particular part right here. It goes into the bottom of our vacuum chucks. It's a simple part, one operation. It's a low dollar item, and it's a terrible use of manpower. So I created this part picker where it has right here, you see the start stack and then the finish stack. All these are, well, I mean, that thing that goes up and down, that's one of my designs, but everything else is pretty much like operates off compressed air, and the compressed air actually operates the vacuum. So right here, it's going down, it's blowing off the chuck. And you know, at the end of an hour, we've got like a dozen, depends on the thickness of the material, but usually it's about 12 or 15 parts. that is just made automatically. So now I don't have to have another guy running that machine. We've freed him up to go do more higher brain power tasks, you know? Maybe things like 3S'ing, how about that? How about things like finding waste in his own movement? It's rare, I'm gonna say, you probably never see it. We don't bend over to pick anything up. We bring stuff to waist level. We load things. We have two different types of carts that we've standardized. One is a pallet cart specifically, which when we have raw material, we're not picking it up off the ground. That'll wear you out over the day, over your career. We bring everything to work height. So this just allows, this is one of those fun things that we got to do that allows us to work on higher end things. So, and Part Picker 2.0 is coming. Maybe some of you have seen it in my most recent posts. I got a few people asking me, what's that black thing? Well, it's a part picker, and the new one's gonna like actually flip parts. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, so we started just doing this and things just started rolling, started really just getting smooth and easy. And I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna say this. My biggest complaint about lean, this is it, ready? Is the name, that darn name lean. It is not like going to bare bones to produce something. It's not like pinching pennies, okay? If I were to rename lean, I would call it flow. What we're trying to do is establish flow. There's this lean term, value mapping, where you see where from the order to the check, I guess you could say, what is adding value along the way. And so you can map that, okay? What we do is we want to simplify and streamline that so there's no bottlenecks. Sometimes it's as simple as, you know, hey, we're just gonna, this guy has to walk over there. Well, that's wasted motion. Go grab a cart, bring it over here. Well, we don't have any more carts left. Buy a cart, you know, it'll be here tomorrow from Uline. Other things like higher end things like our order system. There's a video there, yeah, our order alert system. Watch that on your own time. But we would be assembling and then we would look in and okay, there's only like one order, we can do it later, you know. Assemble for an hour, we come back and there's 9 orders. Oh no, now we gotta hustle. So now our order alert system, oh, what we were doing is we were going back to check every 10 minutes because we were really nervous about missing an order. And so now the order alert system allows us just to stay where we're at. Just do your work, and then when you hear these different, like we have 3 different types of like jingles that play when an order comes in, then you can go do it, then you can pack that order. Standardizing boxes, standardizing just tooling, like we have, like our VF4SS has exactly 30 tools, and those 30 tools is all I get to use to produce our products. If, oh, we just need that one drill, nope, redesign it. We're standardizing, that's it. We just got another Haas VF2 that it only makes pallets for our pallet systems, both the Mini and the Pro. And so the only way to do that is to reduce your setup time by standardizing tooling. And a lot of this would have been so theoretical had we not embraced lean. So yes, lean does help you produce good products, helps establish flow, but at the same time, man, it frees you up to do some incredible things. So that's kind of like all I got. Q&A, can we do that? Yeah? Okay. Andrew Henry, can you ask me that question again?
When you look at something you're considering improving, is it the pain of the inefficiency, or is it the idea of the joy of using the fixed version that drives you?
Yeah, okay, so when we see something, is it the pain of the inefficiency, or is it the joy of the solution? To which I say yes. Like the part picker was really fun when it worked the first time. Oh, sorry. Full disclosure, it didn't work the first time.
When it worked.
When it worked. So what happened was we just put like a stack of parts together and they all, when coolant got in and seeped in, it picked up like 8 of them and well, it was a nightmare. So, so yeah, that's a cool thing, but here's how we quantify it. First of all, I tackle the things that bug me. I try, nowadays in my company, I'm really picky. I go, man, it stinks in here. What, why? Well, because we're cutting and that's coolant. That's what machine shops. No, we can do better. Mist away mist filters. Man, why is it that like the guys have to keep walking, you know, to find me? It's because I have a front office. Okay, well, I'm gonna move my desk to the middle of the shop. Okay, well, why is it that like when he's around the corner, He still has to walk to where I am. Do we do the Paul Akers thing and have a mobile? No, we use a walkie-talkie app, you know? And so you start creating these like snowballing ideas, continual improvement. I'm touching on that again. So after a while, lean frees you up to do these things. Now here's the thing that I would add to this. When you see something bug you and you want to fix it, this is the checklist that I run through. First of all, is it safe? Okay. We had that crane, that vacuum crane. Well, one time we were rolling it out and it pinched the air line that fed the vacuum system and it dropped the plate. Okay, that's no longer safe. We're going to a more industrial unit. Like I put that together. I could have gotten sued. Freaked me out. So that was not a good improvement. It was not safe. Next thing, does it produce a better quality product? Yes or no? Is it better or is it not? Okay, it might be the same. Okay, keep going. Next thing, is it simple? The part picker is really simple. I used to have a UR10, Universal Robot. Cool solution. I don't own it anymore because it's not simple. Now, I'm not anti-robot. I would probably buy one again, but it would have to be on something that would really justify the lack of simplicity. And then finally, is it faster? Notice faster is the fourth one down. I think a lot of times in shops, they get sucked into like what I call the speed trap. Oh, I got this super fast machine. Can I use you as an example, Andrew?
Sure.
Okay, so he has two brother Speedios, and they're fast, but I've seen your videos. You're cutting the profile, what is that called technically?
It's 2D profiling in thermoform plastic.
Okay, so he's 2D profiling the thermoform plastic of the holster. And the cycle time is 20 seconds?
Often less.
Often less, okay? Not much Andrew can do in 20 seconds, all right? He puts it on, vacuum chuck on, maybe turn around, maybe doing something. Okay, so speed is not a factor there. Would Andrew be okay if it took 40 seconds? Yeah, he'd be okay. But you have a brother Speedio, and it's what it's meant to do, you know? So yeah, the speed trap for me, we only have one super speed machine, the Haas VF4 SS. That's really for I went with the SS because it came with the side mount tool changer with 30 tools and the 12,000 RPM spindle, which we slot all of our vacuum chucks at 12,000 RPMs. We cut 2.5 miles of 1/8-inch slots last year alone. So if we can like bump that up even by 10%, we're gonna have long-term savings. So that was the justification for buying that. But all the others, not slow and steady, but flow and steady. And so we've created these systems where things just flow. And it's been just kind of a joy to work. Well, it absolutely has been a joy to work in for both myself and my employees as well, because they know exactly what to do. I don't have to be the one that comes in and tells them what to do. They can look at the Pierson boards, which just means our status boards. They can get Kanban cards. We have this email system that's currently being developed right now by a guy on Upwork, where he scans a barcode and then it automatically sends an RFQ or a PO to our material people, because that's a bottleneck right now. So yeah, that's a painful point. So we solved that. And at the end of the day, we're clicking barcodes. So yeah, that's a really good question. Yes, sir.
So I've been involved in lean implementation at a company that wasn't lean. And for me, it's really all about the culture, and it has to be driven from the top. And clearly that's the case with you. And picking up from what you said when you're telling the story, it sounds like when you started on the lean journey, there were only two of you. So I'm just curious, have you had any issues with new employees who come along, or even existing employees who you try and get them to buy in, but they're not really into it? They're good employees in other ways, and all those, so you don't really want to get rid of them, but how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so lean very much, let me highlight that. Lean is a cultural change. To get people to look at the lean waste, the 8 wastes, and for them to start doing that, so I don't have to be the idea guy or the permission guy. And the question being, do I ever have problems with employees not buying into it? Yes, but at this point they know that their job's just gonna get harder. It's just like one guy, he was bending over loading vacuum chucks, and I walked by and I looked at my guy John, and he said, I'll say something to him. I said, don't say anything. Let him struggle, you know? And he did it happily for the rest of the day. Next day, kind of stretching. And I said, hey, what happened? You know, you doing okay? Oh, my back is sore. Huh. You think it's from lifting all those 18, 45-pound plates yesterday? A little bit, yeah. Why didn't you use the lift? Oh, I didn't really think about it. Okay, all right. So yeah, do we have problems? Yes, it's just human nature. Am I crazy about like, hey, what are name one of the 8 wastes that you eliminated today? I don't do that, okay? But you know, the people that embrace it, they like it and they buy into it. And you know, I embrace it first and foremost. My right-hand man, John, he embraces it. And so it's kind of a trickle-down effect, and we encourage people to do it. So to your point, I have friends that, like one guy ran this huge plastic injection facility, which they did practice lean. There's this thing called the Shingo Prize, which is a very formal competition that companies do to try and win this prize. It's a lean achievement, I guess. And he said his biggest frustration is that it comes from the corporate level, and they just say, do lean for profit's sake, not for people's sake. We take the people-centric approach. So, yeah. Right here?
Do you have a process of like deciding, should we take all day to do something where it basically shuts down production, or you have an issue where you can dedicate an employee to stop doing something that you're paying them $30 an hour for to go do that and solve the problem? How do you distinguish them? How do you decide getting it done versus going all out?
Yeah.
And knowing you're going to do it again? That's what we're trying to figure out.
So do you shut down production to make a lean improvement? Here's the beautiful thing about lean is if you practice it, you don't have to shut down production because production's already done. Like for example, we make, okay, so the part picker. When we're doing the part picker, it's just running and running and running. That held up a guy for all 8 hours to produce that. Now that's a lean improvement that's freed him up. So I say it this way. If you're trying to decide whether you should implement lean or how to implement lean, you can't afford not to. It's just got to be there. Like you have to go, oh, okay, well it's we go home at 3:30. It's 2 o'clock. We're done. We moved all the pins. Everything's in stock. Now what do we do? We got an hour to just do whatever. Sometimes we go home. Sometimes we get Mexican food down the street. And a lot of times we 3S again. We 3S in the morning, we don't 3S in the afternoon. John's video addresses that with the first lean tour. But yeah, at some point you have to, like I did, you have to reach your breaking point where you go, enough is enough. This is crazy. Is it costing you orders? Maybe, but the payback's there if you can just implement one improvement. And lean is totally a snowball thing. So yeah, good question.
Early on, when you were presumably not moving a lot of product yet, how did you decide, it's related to this kind of, what was your process for deciding when to like allocate resources and time for some of these things that obviously take a toll when there wasn't like actual cash flow?
Oh, yeah. Entrepreneur's dilemma. So question is, how did you allocate time to produce things, resources, when money wasn't coming in? John, you want to take this one? Yeah, I don't have any fancy machines. Like I said, I have HAWs. They're very basic, you know, bread and butter machines. I don't have probes except for one machine. I got maybe 2 or 3 of them have side mount tool changers. Point being, I didn't buy all the fancy stuff up front. Because Haas has this program that if you buy 5 basic machines, you get a 6th one for free. Did anyone get that? Does that make sense? Okay, let me explain it. That makes sense. You don't buy the probe, you don't buy the super speed version, you don't buy the all fancy augers or whatever. After 5 machines, you get another one for free. So it's kind of like also snowballing, you know, to just pump money back into the business. When money was starting to come in, still paid myself dirt, bottom of the barrel paycheck. Actually, I paid John more for the first 2 years he worked for me so I could just reinvest. So yeah, that's an entrepreneur's dilemma. Pumping every penny of it back in is really what it takes. That's just been my route at least. So, but I'm sure there's better books out there than what I just said, so yeah.
So one of the key things for lean, from what I've learned, at least, is measuring. So to measure, find out whether or not you've actually improved or not.
Yeah.
But that can be a distraction in itself. So I'm wondering how much
Yeah.
you measure,
So,
how you measure.
yeah. Measuring lean improvements. How do you measure it? How do you qualify, quantify it? We don't. That is a very corporate approach to it. We want to know how this idea that we've set in motion, how it's making us money. Where I want to go is Jerry going home happy? Did Juan struggle today? Did John get mad because he was walking around for 2 hours total looking for stupid stuff like drills or call-its, you know? So I don't even track that. I just kind of tell myself it is more profitable because we work steady, you know, and we don't, our machines, I buy machines for the process, not to keep them running full time. And yeah, product-based business, you get to do that, you know. For a machine shop, if spindles are not turning, you are not profiting. So for me, if the process needs a machine and that machine has created the process and now it's open, that's okay. That's okay because it's better than tearing down something else, setting it up. And so, yeah, I don't track improvements because I'd be the only one that read those reports, and I care more about my employees' well-being than.
That's also one of the things that puts employees off lean.
Absolutely. Yeah. So employees. So my friend that ran this facility, they had a lean auditor, and the problem was they told all the employees that this guy is the lean auditor. Well, every time he came around, guess who's hustling? The employees, you know? And they're reading the charts and they're pulling Kanban cards, you know, and they're U-shaped selling it, you know? Then they walk away and they're like, okay, you know, just let me work. So yeah, that is a turnoff when you know you become part of the machine, not a person. So yeah. Thought I saw another hand. Yeah.
How far back did you kind of backtrack and do the academic sort of side of lean after you implemented like the YouTube version?
Yeah, so 3S was the first step, and then I started, so I have a continual hunger for learning, and it's gotten so great with YouTube. Got to thank these guys around here, you know. And I just have a thirst for it. I read the Toyota Way, which I've read it twice. The first time, kind of went over my head. The second time, I'm like, yes, now I get that. Now I get it. Lean is like, it's not so much where you have to see it and understand it to believe it. You just have to experience it, you know. You have to live it out, then your belief expands. And then you start snowballing. Yeah, but going back, I love lean videos, books. I eat that stuff up, you know. So yeah, it's kind of like educating after the fact. So yeah. Yes?
How do you decide on new products? Like, if you're going to implement all the extra Kanban, stocking stuff, if you don't know if it's going to sell, or do you go all in right away?
So each one of our main 3 product lines has come out of a need. Pallet system, I needed it so I could go to the beach. Vacuum system, we were making these thin parts. I did the Kickstarter campaign, and that was part of it. Had a really thin wall, I needed a vacuum system. And then the Rotovice, man, like on our vacuum power units, like it's 2 halves. One half has machine on the top, on the bottom, on the left, on the right. And I'm like, man, we need to like put this on some type of rotary unit, you know? And you can. Our first one was like a chunk of aluminum with pit bull clamps. So it's really need-based. And if I need it as a manufacturer, I'm hoping that other people will need it too. And that's just worked for us. And in that, now we're really good at documenting the process. So we're doing training videos, we're doing assembly videos, machining videos, and every component gets a Kanban card. The tricky part that we found over the last year, maybe 18 months, is that as the business grew, that minimum number on the Kanban card, we were hitting that, and then we couldn't fulfill it fast enough. Now, if it's faster, you just order it. And so we've had to like double the minimum so that we could have that buffer. That was a big learning curve for us, and that's something I've never heard in anything I've read or seen. So that minimum number is key. It's connected to your historical sales. So we know that we sell 300 of these a year. Let's do them in 2 batches a year of 150 or 3 of 100. So that we're not overproducing. If we make a mistake, we only screwed up 100, not 300. So implementing, lean through Kanban cards, new products, hoping to sell, cross your fingers. So yeah.
You don't have the 300 piece a year
That's okay, we call that bonus stock. So bonus stock occurs in two ways. Either we don't use it, which is fine. Now it's going to be for the next quarter or the next year. Or if we have a machine set up like our live tool lathe. So we have a Doosan LSY 220C, main spindle, sub spindle, live tooling, Y travel. Very complicated setups. When we get that sucker set up, man, no one wants to tear it down. I don't know anything about lathes. I kind of know how you turn it on. It's a green button. That's about it. John's a master. And so if we hit the max, I'll come to him and say, how are they running? Good. Let's look at the Pierson board. There's nothing scheduled for this machine. Let's keep running it. And so we allow ourselves to create bonus stock. So yeah, good question. Yeah. Yes, sir.
How do you apply lean principles when you're doing a prototype development, right?
Yeah, prototyping is just a mess. Yeah, it's not, actually I toured the Haas facility last Thursday, Mark Terryberry, Haas Tip of the Day guy, and I asked him, I said, where's your prototyping? Like, do you like tell someone don't run this machine and so we can use it for a prototype? No, they have their own prototype department. And I said, can we see it? Would it be impressive? He said, Jay, it is a mess. It is nuts. It's like knee mills, you know, and they're sweeping and it's chips and dirt everywhere. So yeah, I don't even do that. But I do document along the way because it will come into play later. So.
At least one thing you can do is apply it to all tooling they're using.
Sure. Yeah, so what we have is Kanban cards. We have three types of Kanban cards. We have main Kanban cards, mini Kanban cards for little stuff, and then tooling Kanban cards. So that tooling Kanban card goes with the set of end mills. So yeah, we would pull from that. So yeah. Any other questions? Okay.
Could you comment on any improvements you've done to your own process as a leader of a company, as the company grows and the demands on your own time change?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any improvements that you've done to your own process as a leader that have been valuable?
Yes, so question is, can I talk about any improvements I've done as a leader? I don't get stressed that often, but because I know what causes stress, keeping stuff in your head. When you start carrying stuff like lists in your head, you have to remember them, and then you have to execute on them. You have to act on them. When you don't, man, you're just mad. Okay, so what I've done, can I grab this? I brought it because this is a lean improvement tool that I use that I literally don't go anywhere without. Yeah, I even brought it on my vacation. So this is a book that is custom created for myself and anyone that wants it in the company. Two other guys use it. It's called a weekly SOP, Sales and Operations Planner, because that's my role in the company right now. In it, I have, let me get to a blank page. No, I'll go with a dirty page. So in it, I have up here is operations. I have action notes and I have phone calls because that's the things that I do. So in operations, if something comes into my mind, I just write it down, get it out of my mind. Getting Things Done by David Allen, thank you. Is a great book. Brains are for ideas. They're not for keeping lists. And he says, keep a safe space to put your notes. That's where it goes. There's no order at all in this. Next thing, if I need to do something like, for example, I'm reading here, what does it say? Oh, list Kaizen stands. That was an Instagram post. And there's something I need to do. I'll write an action note to say, market, I can't even read my writing. Figure out price, that's what it says. And so I get that idea out of my head and then I create an actionable plan. And then this section down here doesn't relate, but if I'm on the phone with someone, I'll just write down their name and number, and then I have little check boxes here. Check the box if I need to call them back, check the check mark box if I'm done, and you know, I can do that. And then if I ever take a phone order, there's 3 blanks on the right-hand side of the page for all the order information. Yeah, I don't, personally, I don't keep things in my head. It is a nightmare to keep things in your head. It just stresses you out, it clutters your brain, and it's rubbed off. When we did the move, so this is crazy. So we moved the end of June. The riggers came and they moved all the machines, 8 CNC machines across the street. So that was a Friday. The next morning, I moved my house. I wouldn't recommend that, but that's just how it worked out. I've been waiting to move into this new facility for like 9 months, and it just popped up, that is the date that we can move. And then we were looking to buy a new house for 9 months, and that's the day that escrow closed, so whatever. I did it, and like a few weeks ago, John came up to me, he said, man, I gotta hand it to you. I thought you were gonna have a meltdown. I thought for sure you would melt down because you moved the business and the next day your house. I don't know how you do it. And I said, well, I don't keep lists in my head. And I put things in order. So delegating is another thing. You can either you can delegate, or you can defer it or delete it. I think that came up when you were here or at my shop. Those are the 3 things you do. You either do it. I tell the guys, if it takes 2 minutes, just go do it. Just get it done. You can delegate it. Hey, John, can you go do this? Or this is not important right now. I'm just going to defer it till later. So those are some of the tools that help me. So yeah. How are you on time?
Jay is the guy that taught me, he really opened my eyes to a lot of things that they're so simple when you see them, but one of the things that I continue to laugh about is the idea that you can bind a set of X keys or Allen keys, and you can throw away all the ones that you don't use. And it seems so wasteful and like very unethical.
Yeah, you paid for those.
But you know, when you only use the 3/16" wrench and the 3/8" wrench at the toolbox, why are you keeping all those other ones there that are in the way when you're trying to get the one that you want out?
Yeah.
And it's really been eye-opening. So to make use of the Pierson workholding.com/lead. So
thanks.
thank you, Jay Pierson.
Yeah, thanks guys.